will need the following items when setting out to monitor ghost nets. 1. A measuring tape or ruler. 2. Net cutters and scissors for sample collection. These particular cutters are recommended because they are designed for cutting nets. You can get them from specialty shops that sell rope and equipment for the fishing industry. You will find these shops near any fishing area or port. 3. A camera. 4. The handheld device. 5. Ensure you have appropriate PPE, including long sleeves, hat, sunscreen, glasses, covered shoes, and gloves. If you don't have a device, or you only have one net to record, you can use the form on the back of the guide. It would be useful for you to have the guidebook handy to refer while working through this tutorial.
Contact details are necessary in case of a query on the data. Email is preferred, but if you don't have an email address, then make sure you included your phone number. The locality means the name of the place. For example, the name of the beach, suburb or town. The latitude and longitude needs to be written as decimal degrees. These coordinates can be found by using a GPS located in your car or on your phone, or by looking up the location on Google Earth. So now we're moving on to the size of the mesh, and the way we go about doing that is you have different use of fingers which tell you different size. In this case, this is a 4-finger, so this pretty much is 76 to 94 millimeter mesh.
The second way of measuring a mesh is to pull it close so that 2 knots meet in the middle.
The way we go about measuring it is pulling it apart like that, and from the inside to the inside, that's what we measure on
this ruler.
So in this case, it's about 90 to about 95. Yeah.
Mils.
So now we'll have to look at the thickness of the twine, and we have a guide here that actually gives us a estimated width. In this case, it's a 4 millimeter thickness.
The type of twine is an important thing to measure.
So when you look at the twines, you're actually looking for braid, which is like a shoelace, or you're looking for a mono, which is like fishing line. In this case, this is a twisted one. We need to look at whether this net or the line is actually double or single. In this case, it's a single. And we have a double that actually, you can see the double, which is different to the single. So, next thing we have to do is check if there's knots in the net. In this case, there is knots in the net.
Recording information about animals trapped is another useful piece of information to gather. The animals that are listed on the form are the most common found. So for any others, just mark the other box with the number of them you see. For animals like small crabs, where there are too many to count, just record a question mark in the box. Size can be measured by imagining the net is bundled up into a ball. You can then estimate which of the 4 choices most likely match a volume. Is the net the size of a football, a Toyota tire, or would it fit into a wheelie bin or a ute?
When estimating to identify the net on the size, we actually put it up against the tire and the football, but in this case it's more or less the size of a tire rather than the football.
Colour can help identify nets. Some nets have multicoloured twines, so it is acceptable to enter more than one colour. In this case, it is a blue net.
You have all different twines, and some of the twines are like silky, soft and silky, and you get some twines are like soft like t-shirt, that's the in-betweener, and you get the hard plastic. So in this case, this one's here is the hard plastic, is the hard twine.
Floats are a feature which generally comes in 3 shapes: disc, round, and torpedo. You can select more than one option. In this case, there are no floats. Another way of helping to identify the net is to stretch the mesh. This refers to when a mesh is pulled diagonally so the knots meet in the middle. When the other 2 knots are pulled diagonally, do they pull the same, or does one pull longer than the other? This net does not have a long way or short way.
Under netting, you need to indicate if the net is made up of the same kind of netting throughout.
So now we're looking at the joins, see if there's joins in the net. But when you do identify a join in the net, you'll have to look through the guidebook to identify what size mesh and if the meshes are the same and if the twines are the same, and because it can actually give you or identify the origin where it actually comes from.
If there are joins in the net and the netting on each side of the join is different, like in this demonstration, then tick no. You then need to record how many different types of nets are joined together. In this case, there are 2. Indicate that in the box under multiple netting. The 2 nets have different codes. The guidebook lists a range of nets and codes that are commonly found. To understand the codes, go to page 7 of the guide. Each net description has a picture, an identification code, and the text, which provides further information to help you match the code with the details of the net that you've found. The code is broken up into sections with different meanings. In this example, it shows 2F, which is a net with mesh that fits 2 fingers. The next letter, which in this example is K, indicates that the net has knots. S indicates that it's a single twine net. B indicates that it is braided. The number at the end is a 3-digit number. This indicates the number of its kind. The range of different codes is listed here. You can see that the Fs indicate the number of fingers, or the fist, or the clasped fist or open hand. You've got your definitions next to it. And the code here indicates all your different letters. For this net, to find the code, go to the 4-finger mesh section. Then look for the picture that best matches your sample. In this case, we can see this picture here best matches the sample of the single twine mesh that we have on a net we've found. So when we look further into it, to make sure that it's the correct net, we can look at the code. 4F indicates 4 fingers, K indicates that it has knots, S means that it's single twine, T is that it's twisted, 006 indicates the 6 of its kind. When we look at the twine size, 4 to 9 mils, we've measured 4, so that description and code is consistent with the net that we've found. So you can now enter that code into the data sheet. The second type of netting that was on the other side of the join, which was the double twine, is actually a 3-finger mesh. When we look that up, we go to our 3-finger mesh section and look through the pictures to see which best suits. We can see something similar here. which is a double twine twisted mesh with knots. Let's look deeper into the code to make sure that it does match. For one thing, the colour doesn't match. We have our colour codes here, there's no blue indicated. We have 3F, which is your 3 finger, that's correct. K, which is knotted, correct. D, which is double, that's also consistent with the net. T is twisted, and it's one of its kind. But when we look at the twine here, 2 to 3 mil, it's actually a 4 mil twine. So between that and the colour not being consistent with the net, we can safely say that this is not an accurate description of the net. Therefore, the net isn't actually recorded in the guidebook. When this occurs, tick the box on the data sheet indicating doesn't match a code.
Photos and samples help in net identification, particularly if there is uncertainty. If you feel that the net is unique or different in any way, then it would be great to get a photo and/or a sample. A sample only needs to be at least 2 meshes in size. Send an email to info@ghostnet.com.au for an address to send sample to. The comment section is your last chance to write any other information that you've found that is not captured by the question.
With this particular net, we have a strengthening system or strengthening ropes, which are actually laid 50 centimeters apart from each other. That covers the net and gives it its strength.